You know what? I'd probably be just as shocked and concerned if my daughter brought home an Avenger too. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume, things like Doctor Who, things like Star Trek, and things like the MCU. And we are reviewing weekly here on the channel Hawkeye, which we're now up to the 4th episode of. And once again, I forgot to look up the episode title. Episode 4 of Hawkeye. Spoilers inbound. This was another really fun episode. It had all of the components that I'm really liking of this series. It had the action, it had the humour, it had the bonding between the two main characters and that chemistry that they've got. It had the Christmas tunes. There was a Christmas serenade. The Christmas feel of it I'm loving. As you can see from my background, I've now fully embraced. We're in the Christmas period. I've got my tinsel up, got my little Santa up there. I'm embracing the Christmas decorating now. We are in December. So it's got everything that I really like about this series so far. I'm really kind of enjoying it. It's a fun series, but it's got those serious moments in it as well, especially towards the end of this episode where the tone gets a bit more deep and darker. Not too dark, but a little bit darker. So it's got that nice balance of everything, really. The episode starts with a very funny scene because last week, of course, we were left with the cliffhanger of Clint with a sword to his throat, Jack holding a sword to his throat because Jack had found Clint in his apartment. And as I predicted, it wasn't a menacing villain type, I've got a sword to your throat. It was a, hey, there's a weird guy in my apartment. And the minute he realizes it's Hawkeye, he's like, oh my god. And later on thank you so much for saving the world and the universe and everything. So that kind of went pretty much how I predicted. I loved the scene between when they're all sat around the table once the Jack and their mum discover Kate and Clint in the apartment, and they're kind of like, there's this awkward questioning of what they were doing there. Why is she hanging around with an Avenger? Are they their partners now? And there's this Clint just kind of looking very fed up. It was a very funny scene. But then when the mum walks him out, it has that transition into a kind of like slightly more serious tone where she goes, look, I can't lose my daughter, and I don't think it's safe for her to hang around with you. And she brings up Natasha, and you can see how that affects him. And Natasha gets brought up several times in this episode, quite deliberately, I think. Obviously, it's a thing that's been brought up in previous episodes as well, but previously it was like maybe once an episode. It's brought up several times in this episode, I think, to prep us for the reveal at the end of who is attacking him at the end. So that kind of changed the tone of that scene, but worked really well, and a nice callback to Natasha, and just to see that how that still affects him, the pain on his face there, anytime that he has to remember what happened to her. I still think the mum is the main villain of this series. Well, I think Kingpin kind of sits above her, but I don't think he's going to feature much in the series, if at all, beyond legs, and, you know, maybe we'll see him in the 6th episode, but I think she's the kind of main underling villain of the series, or the main villain of the series, and he's like the one above her. So maybe if there's a series 2, we'll get Kingpin a bit more involved. I was kind of hoping to see him this episode, but we got the other reveal of a character instead, and I suspect they'll want to spend next episode dealing more with that. So probably if we're gonna get a Kingpin reveal, it will come in episode 6 in the finale. But I do think the mum is definitely more villainous than Jack. And I think we're getting fed more and more red herrings about Jack, because obviously Clint goes off and investigates him, or gets his wife to investigate him and run a background check on him. By the way, I continue to love the relationship that they've got, Clint and his wife. And is it just me, or is she like, I'm getting vibes that she might have been in this world at some point. The way she, like, he just sort of sends her a text message. I can't remember the exact phrasing he was using, but it was very official spy terminology of like, can you run a background check on this person? And then when she's on the phone, she slips into another language so the kids don't understand. She has an understanding of, like, she brings up the watch. Oh no, he does. Somebody brings up the watch, but then she knows exactly what he's talking about and seems to have some kind of technical knowledge about the watch. And later on, she says it's transmitting. I just get the feeling that maybe she was once in this world, this spy world as well, and that she came out of it to start the family and he stayed in it. And And that's great if true. Or either that, or she's just kind of picked this up from living with a spy for the last 20 years or so. But either way, I'm loving the relationship they've got. You kind of get a feel that they're in a real relationship, a supportive relationship. It's really nice. When Clint goes back to Kate's aunt's apartment where he's sort of hanging out at the moment, she turns up with a Christmas tree, the beginnings of a costume, she says, although we don't get to see it in that bit. And oh no, though, I think that's actually probably a reference. I've just clocked that's probably a reference to actually bringing him a Christmas jumper. It's probably a joke. But so that's a lovely scene. It's a really fun scene of them bonding. We get Christmas tree put up, decorating, kind of half vaguely planning what they're gonna do in a very funny way with a permanent marker on her aunt's artwork. The Christmas jumper, the slushies, a bit of training as well, where he trains her to flick a coin in a very precise way to like turn off the TV, or that was one thing they did. So the training's continuing, and you get this real nice feeling of them bonding here in a fun way before them bonding in a much more serious way, because Clint starts to open up about his past to her, much more than he has ever done before, which is really nice. And he's resistant at first. He says something and then he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm not going to go into that. But she probes, and we find out, because she asks him, what was your best shot? And it's the shot he never took, because he didn't take the shot to kill Natasha when he was first sent, when she was working for the Russian Black Widow program, to kill her. And he didn't take that shot because he got a sense that she wanted out, and that sense was right. And so that's the best shot, because he didn't take it. And he opens up about that, and again it brings up Natasha for later on, reminds the audience about her and their relationship, and the fact that at one point, he was sent in to kill her, and then that obviously didn't, and brought her into the fold of S.H.I.E.L.D. He also opens up and admits that he's Ronin. He was Ronin. That's something that Kate hadn't known up until now. She thought he just knew Ronin. But no, he admits here that he was him, and it kind of goes to the root of why he doesn't like being called a hero. He says, I'm not a hero, I'm a weapon. They just aim me what needs to be killed. My speciality isn't saving people or helping people, it's killing people. And that, there's stuff that goes before that, investigating, and people get helped along the way, but ultimately, I'm a killer. And that kind of goes down to the sort of root of why he doesn't want to be in the limelight, like Kate thinks he does. Kate thinks he needs a rebrand and to be more public, and partly it's his own guilt for the things he's done, not just as Ronin, but also as a spy, that his whole life he's just been trained to kill, and that's not something that he thinks people should look up to. So I suspect by the end of this series, he'll have realised that he can be someone that isn't just a killer, that is there to help people predominantly, and will embrace that, I hope. So while that whole scene was lovely, from the really fun jovial stuff to the much more low beat, and it kind of ends with on a bit of a low note, kind of tonal wise, but I think it was very important for their bonding. They need to retrieve this watch though. The watch, what is it? Whose is it? Have you got any theories? Let me know in the comments below. He says it belongs to an old friend who's been out of the game for a long time. Could it be Tony Stark's watch maybe? Could it be another one of the Avengers? I'm trying to think who else it could be. Or could it be somebody to do with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Could it be I don't know, Nick Fury's? I don't know. It's probably going to be somebody we know about, I would have thought. Could it be Natasha's watch? I don't know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? Let me know. But they find out, they track it, as I said, via his wife to this apartment, and they go on a mission. But first, they need to get Hawkeye's arrows back, which are currently impounded by the police. So he sends Kate to do that, and he tells her about the LARPers and to try and use those as a way in. And she basically just walks up to... Bear in mind, this is a group of LARPers that are made up of firemen and police officers, etc. So basically, she just walks up to them and goes, hey, Hawkeye's arrows are in the impound. Do you mind stealing them for me? To this group of at least some of them are police officers. And they just go, Yeah, all right. Oh, you got to do us a favor first. But like, how easy was that? That she just went up, like, no trying to feel them out about whether or not they'd be up for that. That she just went straight up to them, asked them, look, Hawkeye's arrows are in here. We need them. Can you get them for us? Can you commit crimes to get them for us to these police officers? And they just do it. Okay. I mean, it felt a little bit easy. Yeah, that was a bit weird. But they do it, and it was nice to involve the LARPers again. And we get the nice scene when they're back in the apartment, and they've got her trying on, they got Kate trying on a Viking outfit, which does lead to her suggesting, because the woman that's helping her try it on says that she made it herself, and does lead to the suggestion that actually these LARPers are going to end up creating Hawkeye and new Hawkeyes, new costumes. Which I'm sure we will see in episode 6. So they go on a mission to get the watch. Kate goes into the building. I think Clint was originally planning to, but she kind of just walks off while he's not looking, while he's looking for his binoculars. So and gets into the building. Nice, funny scene with them going up her going up through the front door in the lift by helping an old guy with his groceries. I like the scene in the lift where she's talking to Hawkeye briefly because he asks her, what are you doing? And the guy starts looking at her strangely, and she basically just comes out, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm speaking to an Avenger in my ear. And he obviously, quite rightly, I think, thinks she's nuts, and is like, I'll take it from here, and takes his groceries back and tries to get away from her as quickly as possible. Nice, fun scene. But she finds the watch. She also finds a list of Clint and his family in the place as well, and they work out that actually it's Mia's apartment, and that she's there, and she starts attacking Kate. Meanwhile, Clint's getting attacked on a roof by a masked figure who he thought was Mia but isn't, and this is the sort of main action bit of the episode. There hadn't been much action up until this point, which I think was fine. I didn't miss it up until this point, but it was nice to have it at the end. They're fighting. Eventually Kate makes it over onto the roof, and everyone's on the roof fighting. And I called it as soon as I saw her, because we knew she was going to be in it. But I called that this was going to be Natasha's sister from the Black Widow movie. And indeed, it was. I mean, it was further confirmed even before she took off the mask by the fact that she used the Black Widow stingers on people in the fight. But eventually, we, as the audience, see that her face revealed. Now, interestingly, Clint only says, oh, a Black Widow assassin has been hired to take me out. So he, I think, doesn't know that is Natasha's sister. He didn't mention anything about it being her sister, although he might not to Kate. I don't know. But I think at the moment, he is not aware of who that Black Widow is. He's just aware that it is a Black Widow. But now that we've got the Black Widows involved, he is very much fearing for Kate's life, so he sends her away, basically says, no, we can't work together, Black Widows are involved now, this is much too dangerous. And he has just promised her mum earlier on in the episode that he will keep her safe, so it makes sense that he would want to keep her away from Black Widows, who we know can kill very easily. So, yeah. I thought that was quite a interesting end to the episode. We got the reveal of, what is her sister's name? Yelena or something like that, isn't it? Yelena, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. We got the reveal of her and this tense moment between Clint and Kate where he basically dismisses her and says, no, you can't have anything to do with this anymore. So I think next week will probably be very much focused on Natasha's sister and that whole plot line, with the rest of it bubbling over in the background, and then maybe she'll come on side by the end of that episode, and by the finale might actually be helping them with defeat the big bad, which I think will be revealed to be Kate's mum working for Kingpin, which maybe we'll get him in a post-credit scene or something at the end, leading up to maybe setting up a second season, maybe. Who knows? Or another film. Who knows? But I'm very much enjoying this show so far. It's a lot of fun. Good action. Good comedy. I love the dynamic between Kate and Clint. That is brilliant. I'm really enjoying it. What do you think of the series so far? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be back next week to review the 5th episode of Hawkeye. See you then.